All right, guys. Sorry about that. So, hmm, yes. So as I was saying, we talked about all this in the last class and things like that, and how the HTML works. So today, and also I remember that in the last class, I've started. I think I've introduced us to the heading tag. To the heading tag. Am I right? Hello? Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can.
I introduced us to the heading tags, and also did I also talk about the section tag in the last class? The tag called section tag in the last class. Okay. So yes, we're going to discuss about that today. So let me share my screen.
It's 6 o'clock.
Okay, can you guys see my screen? All right. So um, this was where we stopped last time. Let me try and run this in my browser. Okay. All right. So can you guys see my browser? Okay. So let's go. So as I was saying in the last class, that we have various heading tags. We have from the H1 to H6, and these tags are used to make emphasis or importance of heading. So as I said before, that this is the H1. This is H1 tag. So this is the H1 tag. As I told you in the other class, this is the H1 tag. And so, okay, so let's try what H2 is. Let's use the same word so we can see the difference. All right. So if you look at this now, I'm sure you'll be able to see the difference between the H1 and the H2. So if you're looking at the H2, the font weight, the weight of the font is reduced and the size is even more reduced. So you can see that the emphasis of that particular text or the particular word is reduced compared to when we use the H1 for it. So when you use this the H1, the H2 is used for text hierarchy. It is used for what we call text hierarchy. That is what it is being used to describe. It is used to describe tech hierarchy in your document. It is used for tech hierarchy in your document. So the H1, the H2. So by the time you get to the H2, the weight, the font, the weight of what you have is being reduced. The weight of the word or the weight of the text is being reduced, and even the size is being reduced. So going as well with the H3, same word, fresh. So at this point, you can see that welcome to the. You see now, it is also reduced. The H2 is much stronger than the H3. The particular text. Okay. Okay. All right. No problem. I'm going to zoom that. Is this okay now? Can you guys see my editor clearly? Can you guys see the editor clearly now? All right. So let's go back to our. So now you can see that the H3 is much more smaller in weight and in size compared to that of the H2. So let's go H4, same word, and let's reload our browser and see the difference. So now that is the H4. The weight is reduced and the size also is reduced. That is it on the H4. That is the effect on the H4. The weight is reduced and the size is being reduced. That is the effect on the H4. So that, as I'm saying, don't forget the heading tag is for heading hierarchy in your document. The heading tag is for heading hierarchies in your document. It is very important because when you are structuring your page, you want text hierarchy because that is part of structured HTML. That is part of a semantic a properly documented document, an HTML document. It must respect the law of semantics, and these are the basic laws of semantic. Using proper HTML, using proper HTML and CSS, using proper HTML, using the proper HTML tags at the necessary place. So now let's go to the H5. Let me reload my document. Now look at the H5. The H5 is much more smaller to the H4, and also the weight is reduced compared to other text hierarchy. That is the difference. The H5 is much more smaller. Now let's go to the last one. So we have heading tag. Heading tag starts from H1 to H6. The heading tag starts from H1 to H6. That is where the heading tag starts from. That's what our heading tag is. And the heading tag starts from the H1 to H6. So H6. Now, now you can see the difference between these heading heading tags. You can see their difference. Are you guys following me? All right. So if I get it clearly, from which part? From which part? Like, what do you mean by the cinematic part? Let me understand what you mean by the cinematic part. That must be a mistake. All right. Okay. So let me just come again, so you can get a clearer understanding. Okay. So I said the H1, the H2, the H3, H4, H5, H6. They are called the heading tags. The heading tags, and they are used for text hierarchy in our document. They help to specify text hierarchy on the document. Are you following me? Are you getting that now? Do you get that now? All right. So they are used for text hierarchy in our document. So most of the time, when you visit a particular website or a particular web application, you see that the size and the font of each section of a particular of a section is different, or the heading is different. So most of the time, these heading tags help us to specify text hierarchy of how you want your text, or your doc or your the description of the document to rank in on your page. That is why H1 to H6 was introduced. And what is the difference between this H1, this heading tag 1 to heading tag 6? Majorly is just their font weight and their font and the size of the font. So it is majorly being described by the size of the font and the weight of the font. Take a look at this H1, at this H1. We started with this H1 tag at this point. If you look at it, the H1 tag at this point, the font is more bigger, and the font and the weight is more bold, like it is more bold compared to other fonts, compared to the other heading on this page. It has a much more bigger weight. It has more, the size is bigger compared to the rest of the headings on this page. So that is just the difference. Now when we move on to the H2, you see that the H2 becomes a little bigger, but it is smaller than the H1 content, and the weight is also it also has a little a kind of bold font weight, but it is not as bold as that of the H1. And same thing when you come down to the H3, it becomes less compared to the H2 and the H1. The font size is reduced and the font weight is reduced compared to the H1 and the H2. And also going down to the H4 as well, same thing happens. It's reducing its height, it's reducing its size, and also in its boldness. Same thing with the H5 and the H6. So this thing was majorly introduced to majorly specify text hierarchy on your page. So when you put this into consideration, this will help you to rank text properly on your page. So that is majorly the function of the heading tags. They are for text hierarchy on your page, but you must be able to decide at what point to use each of the heading tags. Do you understand? You must be able to decide at what point you need to use each of these heading tags. Do you get my point? Like, you must be able to make a decision of which point these heading tags are being needed. You must be able to make use of these heading tags at the right time. Obviously, you can't just come to a page and where there is no an H1 and start using H3, H4 because the sizes are different. No, they have their importance. When time comes for you to say, because you want to pick a text because of its size, that place CSS come in. CSS has a property that helps you to reduce the font weight and the font size, or increase them at a particular point. You don't just come and use the heading tag because you want a bigger font and you want a bold font. No. Or you because you want a smaller font and you want a smaller weight. No. You don't just come and use those heading tags. These heading tags are used for headings of each sections of a page, and you must know how to arrange them and prioritize where they are supposed to be. So that is what these heading tags are for. That is what these heading tags are for. So do you get me now? Like, do you understand what I'm saying now? Let me know before I move on. All right. All right. All right. All right. I'll address it. Okay, and also don't forget that the last time we talked about the title class, the title tag that is used to specify the title of a particular page, that is used to specify what the title of a page is going to be at the top. We use that in the title tag, and the title tag is always embedded under the head tag. That is where the title tag is always embedded under. The title tag is always embedded under the head tag. So we must always put this to consideration. So let's talk about the section tag. Or sorry, let's talk about the paragraph tag. So there is something called the paragraph tag in HTML. So when we talk about the paragraph tag, so let's just put it like normal English. What is paragraph? So what what is paragraph? So paragraph is just a section of your your document that describes what will I call it? A series of maybe a series of contests or something like that. So like if you are writing an essay or something like that, so you have a paragraph on each of whatever you are talking about. So same thing with HTML. So we have what we call the paragraph tag, and this paragraph tag is represented by a P, by the letter P. So when you want to like create a paragraph in HTML, you make use of the letter P that stands for the paragraph tag. So that is what the P stands for in your code. So in that place, and so the browser will automatically create a new line for you to continue. So now the paragraph tag is used to describe a series of maybe, okay, now imagine on your page you are talking about travel. Do you understand? We are talking about travel on that particular website. Then on a particular section, you want to talk about traveling by sea. Then you want to talk about how sea can be used for how the mode of transportation of sea affects traveling. So you can write everything within this paragraph tag. So you can just put yeah. So that is what the paragraph tag is. So what I just did now is like a dummy content. Let me save, and you see the you see the effect on the browser now. Now you see what the paragraph tag has created for us. So this is what the paragraph tag is. So that is what that is what the paragraph tag is being used for. So these are major tags that you obviously come to interface with in your journey in writing HTML. It is very, very important. These are important tags you must always put on hand, like you must even know them off heart. It's not something that you have to start um it's not something that you have to start looking out for, something you have to start thinking about. These are important tags that you will tend to start using when you start writing the proper page construction and things like that. So Okay, please just give me a minute. I need to attend to something. Oh, sorry guys for the delay. Just attending to something. So, okay. Yes, can you guys still see my screen? Let me know if you can still see my screen. Alright. Let me know if you can still see my screen. Alright. Okay. Alright. Okay, so as I was saying, um we that is so do you understand what the P tag is doing, or do you want me to expatiate more on that? Like, do you guys get do you have a clear idea of what the P tag is doing? Let me know if you have any question on the P tag before we move on. Okay, okay, okay. Let me know. Let me know. I'm waiting for you. All right. So it is called a paragraph tag because most of the time, when you have a paragraph, that is where most of the time you describe like most of the description of a particular context or a particular topic. That's where you write about a particular idea. So that's why most of the time it's called a paragraph. So, but there is a space. There is a CSS. There is a CSS. CSS will enable you to create space in between between like the I understand what I understand what you mean, like you didn't see the paragraph, right? So for you to show that it is paragraph, it to create the space with CSS, you can be able to like um bring out the paragraph effect you want. I believe when we get that CSS line, you are going to see the way it works. So it's fine. Like that's a very very good question. So do you understand what I'm saying? All right. Okay. That's nice. So now let's move on to what we call a section tag. So we have what we call the section tag. So this section tag is not like activity tags that usually show. So I would like to categorize something. So we have what we call structural tags. Though it's not like as if in HTML, that's what it is. But I'm trying to explain it for you that there are some, so you can have a better understanding. That there are some tags we call the structural tag. There are tags we call the documents. So let's put it like this: we have the structural tags, we have the document tag. So now, like the main tag is a structural tag because it is responsible to. Why we have the main tag is for us to have a structure within our document, not okay. Uh, so so like the main tag is a structural tag, as I was saying. The main tag is a structural tag. Yeah, the body tag also is a structural tag. The header tag is a structural tag. So most of this time, these tags are responsible for creating structure in our HTML document. I hope you guys are. Do you get what I just explained? Let me know. So um okay, yes, I can see your reply, Abimbola. So thank you. Um, so as I was saying, you have the structural tag, which is like this header tag, the header tag, the main tag, and the footer tag. So these tags are just to create structure within the within your document. So the browser can do a better job in creating your document object model, in creating your DOM, and also creating your accessibility tree. So same thing with this section tag that I'm just about to talk about. The section tag is I want us to classify it under what we call the structural, what we have described as the structural tag as well. Is majorly for creating structure within your documents page. So the browser can do a better job in so the browser can do a better job in creating a good structure for your document. So when you have the section tag, so under that section tag, you can use that in categorizing each of the sections you want to be on your page. You want to be on your page. So it will help in creating a better structure for each of the things you want to be on your page. So that is what the section tag is. That is what the section tag is majorly. As I said, it's a structural tag. Section tag is a structural tag. Don't forget that. It's not like as if it is like the paragraph tag or the heading tag. No, the section tag helps to define sections within a document. That is what this tag is for. And as I said, structural tag. So the main advantage of the section tag is to create semantic for us on our page. It is for us to create semantic. So let's use the section tag. So now, so now in your section, you can say, okay, this section is to talk about introduction. So within the section, do H1 or introduction to front end development. So save that. Let's go. Introduction to front end development. You see, it's not like as if the section tag has any other special thing. It is doing to it is doing for our page. The importance is for semantics. So you need to understand that there are some tags that the reason why they are created and their importance is just to enhance and enable semantic on our page. It is to enhance and enable semantic on our page. That is what the section tag is being used for. It's just to enhance and enable semantic on our page. So that is what it is being used for. So you need to understand that. So let okay now can Abibol Rookie, can you just give me kind of semantic or structural tag that I've talked about here? Just name three structural and semantic tag that we have that we've discussed about. Let me know if you understand.
The semantic tag is the section tag, while the structural tag are the header tag, the header tag, the footer. Which one is it? I
So,
think I am sure of those.
so I can't hear you. Can you type in the like? Can you drop your message on the chat?
All right.
Um, okay, that is right. The header, the footer, yes, those are semantic tags. Those are semantic tags. That is very right. You are right. So header, footer, they are semantic tag for our page. They are not majorly, they don't really have a major kind of, they don't really have a major kind of backbench or which they bring on the page. They are for they are for semantics on our page. That is very much right. You get that. And we also have the main tag. We also have the section tag, which I also just described, which I just described on which I just described now. That which I also just described now that it is for semantic. It is just to create a proper structure and put and to make so it is just to create proper section on our document page. So now the next tag I would like to talk about is called the div tag. The div tag. The div tag. What did I say? The div tag. So when we talk about the div tag is referred to as the division tag. Just a minute. So um yes, so we want to talk about the div class, the div tag, which is referred to as the division tag. Okay, so this tag is majorly used for division of our pages. So most of the time, before the introduction of the section tag into HTML, so the section tag was just lately introduced into HTML. I think it was in HTML4 or HTML5. I'm not very sure about that. But when before the introduction of the section tag into HTML, the div tag has served as the division tag and as the section tag of HTML. And the tag it has an opening and it has a closing. So most of the time when you have like a separate when you want to separate data or you want to divide or you want to do a division between data and maybe you can't use the section tag and you know that this document you are trying to create a division in between them, it is not a section kind of document. That is when the div tag comes into play. Or you want to create a dynamic stuff and you can't there's no really tag to create it. You can use the div tag and then specify rules and use the accessibility specified standard accessibility of which W3C has stated on it. So at that point you can use the div tag for things like that. So as I said earlier, before the coming of the section tag, the div tag was said to be what we know as the divisional tag. So before that, so the div can help you categorize your help you categorize things on your document. So that is what the div is majorly used for. It will help you create category like sectioning things on your document. But it is much standard than when you want to do things in section. That is why the section tag is available. The section tag is available. You can make use of the section tag. At that time, it carries more power, and your browser is able to create a better interpretation for it compared to the div tag. But the div tag is a very wide range use tag in front end development, especially when you are writing your HTML. So you must understand how the div tag works. So the div tag is a sectioning tag. And so what is the div tag? It's just okay. So let me give you a so it is div, then you close it. So don't mind my editor is auto configured that immediately I try to close a particular tag, it automatically closes it for me. That is how my editor works. So but automatically when you open your div tag, you create the closing tag for it as well. That is what the div tag is for. So this div tag, it can be used for sectioning. So like the way this section, the section at the top work, you can also use this tag to what to create division of document. But remember, I told you earlier that when you want to section your pages, when you want to section your pages or your document, it is preferable to use the section tag. But when the sectioning is not like a major sectioning or it's just a subsectioning, maybe you want to do okay, let's talk about let's say okay, all right. Okay, let's say you want to create you want to section things within this your section. Now you can now use because you don't want to use the section inside it. Now you will now use the div tag to create like a section in between inside this your section document. So I can want to have the front end. Now okay, imagine we have the front end track, we have the back end track, but everything is under what web development. So this section now will categorize it as the what's it called, let's call it the web development. This section, the section in this page is all talking about web development. That is what this section is talking about. This whole section is talking about. So just a minute. Web development. Then now we have the categories. We have the front end development. We have the back end development. We have the yes, we have the front end development. We have the back end development. We also have the DevOps aspect of things. So yeah, you do H2. Now you see we already combining all these our tags. You see at this point, this text has more hierarchy than this one specified there. And I put front end development. Now I also want to create the backend development part. So now you can use the div to create a section between them. Backend development. Let's load our page. Now, can you see it? Can you see what I'm saying? So, like, do you guys understand? Before we continue, like, do you have any question? Let me let me know before I proceed. Okay, all right, okay, great. Okay, what about rookie? Do you understand or do you have any question? Are you lost anywhere before we continue? Okay, yes, it is possible to do the section, but if you remember, I told you earlier that okay, now look at this, look at what I just did here. It is not a priority. What we like for? It's not a priority differentiation. So instead of using section within your page, Instead of using section within your page, you will use the div. You use the div, you use this div, you use this div, you use this div to do the sectioning, because it is not a major sectioning of your it's not a major sectioning within your particular page. So that is why the div is there. So the div can help to do the sectioning within your page. The div can help to do the sectioning within your page instead of having for you to do the section. And also to create a proper schematic, it will not really look really nice to now have a section inside that particular div. Like, do you understand me? Okay, that's fine. So so that is what the div tag is. That is what the div tag is covering. And don't forget, I also said that there are some tags that are not yet invented in HTML. Like there are some features that are not really invented in the HTML. Like, okay, let's say you want a drop down feature in HTML. There's no drop down tag in HTML. So most of the time, so this the div is always used as uh the default tag to create these particular features on your HTML. Then you use the proper accessibility rule on them. Like when you want to create a drop down, you specify the rule on the particular div, and you specify the kind of rule you want that particular div to take. So the browser can be able to read that when it is passing that particular page. So that is just one of the major advantages of div. So the div tag does not really have a particular function that it does, but it is most of the time kept there for when you want to for when you want to do substitute things. That is what the div tag is being there for. And also, okay, let's talk about uh, the other similar tag to the div. So, and that is the span tag, SPAN. So I think when we get to CSS, we'll talk about that. You need to understand that the div is a block element kind of tag, while the span is an inline block element kind of tag. You might not be able to get what a block element is and what an inline element is for now, because when we get to CSS, we'll be able to talk about how those particular display work on our tag. But just put it at the back of your mind that the diff is a block element kind of tag, while the span is an inline based kind of inline display kind of tag. So the span is also used to convey information. Okay, now so the span mostly is related to the p tag. Most of the time you might just want to display a little information or a meta information to the user, and you can't use a paragraph tag, because that is not proper semantics or proper way to construct your document. So at that point you introduced the tag called span. So let's just this okay, backend development, we do Node.js. So now let's refresh our browser. So if you look at this place, you will see we do Node.js at this point. And because why, this document, this is just like a meta information about backend. What the kind of technologies we can use in backend. We do Node.js. It's a meta information that is related to backend. It is not an information that is a paragraph. It's just a simple information that we just want to attach to the to the backend division to show that this is related to backend. We do Node.js. So that is when you use the span tag. So we need to really understand what these tags are useful for, their importance when we are using them. So that is what the span tag is using for. So the span also is like a div tag, but most of the time is when you don't want to use a paragraph tag or a tag that can describe that can do that work at that particular moment. So imagine, for example, you want to write a text that is neither a paragraph tag and it's not an heading tag. So now that is where the span tag comes to your rescue. You can use the span tag to convey that information, to write that text. Then with the help of CSS, you can style the text to look like whatever you want it to look like. When we get to CSS, we understand how all those acrobatic works. Like we understand how those stuffs works with our application. But the span tag is an alternative for you when you want to convey those text. And also it also has its importance when you are trying to create some other kind of related feature that HTML does not defaultly create a tags for. So that is what the span tag is used for. So, like, do you have any question? Let me know. Let me know if you guys have any question. All right, all right, all right. Okay, okay, all right. So if you guys do not have any question, okay, let's give it a break at this point. Then we'll meet in our next class. And also, this class was recorded, and I'm also going to paste that on the Google Classroom for us, for those that are not able to meet up with the class, for you guys that just want to make use of this video as a reference. So I think this will be a great point. And you can also ask any question that might not be directly related with what we just talked about. So you are free to ask any question before we close the class. Abimbola, any question from you? All right, guys. So thank you for attending today's class. I'll see you guys on Thursday. And if you know any of our other class members that are not here, reach out to them that we didn't see them in class. So I'll see you guys on Thursday. Thank you for joining. Bye.